everybody, and welcome to Vinyl Treasures. I'm your host, Johnny G. John Galindo, coming to you live each and every Saturday only here on Top Shelf Oldies. Want to welcome you to the August 24th, 2019 Vinyl Treasure Show. It's 1950s and early 60s for this evening, so glad you can join Johnny G on this beautiful night. It was a perfect day today. I, of course, was not outside, but I would have loved to be. I'll be out tomorrow, though, but it was really nice today. I love this kind of weather. I really do, to get me in the mood for football, which will be in a couple of weeks. But anyway, we opened up with the debut single by this instrumental group from Buffalo, New York. They were known as the Tune Rockers. I'm sure you're familiar with their biggest hit, The Green Mosquito. Came out on United Artists Records. Just featured their first on Don Carter and Don Robey's Pet label out of New York City. The same label that recorded the Gay Knights, the Revlons, and the Capitals. And there you go with the Tune Rockers from May 1958 on the Pet label. It was called No Stompin', This Boppin'. Pretty cool instrumental there. So welcome to the Vinyl Treasure Show. Going to say hi to those in the YouTube chat and also the Top Shelf Oldies chat. So let's start it off here with the vocal portion. And we stay in that same month and year of May of 1958. Our opening vocal is from a group from the Bronx. They're called the Preludes. This is their only release. It features Bobby Miano on lead. We go to May of 58, the Preludes on Cub. It's called Kingdom of Love. We open up the vocal portion there with the Preludes from May 1958. That's their only release on the Cub record label division of MGM Records. Kingdom of Love is the name of that one. Now, Bobby Miano is on lead. Now, after this, Bobby Miano would study acting acting, and in 1972, he got his chance to play a mugger in the Charles Bronson movie Death Wish. He was also in a Robert Duvall movie called Badge 373, and he played a mob boss in the 1997 Johnny Depp movie Donnie Brasco. But back in 1958, he was 15 years old. He recorded that song with the Preludes, Kingdom of Love. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. We spin only original vinyl 45s. I changed the needles on these two Newmark turntables, so the record should sound good, even with the scratches, as we continue here. Now, here's a group from Cincinnati, Ohio. They recorded 3 for the Cincinnati, Ohio-based deluxe record label, Sid Nathan's Deluxe Records. And since all the members worked as truck drivers, they decided to call themselves the Drivers. Let's give a listen to their second of 3 on Deluxe from December of 1956. These are the Drivers on Deluxe, and their tune's called Midnight Hours.
In the midnight hour, I need you. In the morning, I want you. In the evening, I love you. In the midnight hour, don't tease me. In the morning, squeeze me. In the evening, please me. In the midnight hour, you know I love you, baby. You know I love you so. You know I love you, baby. I'll never, never let you go. I need you. In the morning, want you. In the evening, love you. In the midnight hour, ooh, 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 ooh. In the midnight hour. You know I love you, baby. You know I love you so. You know I love you, baby. And I'll never, never let you go. I need you. In the morning, want you. In the evening, love you. In the midnight hour. Ooh, 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 ooh. In the You know I love you, baby. You know I love you so. You know I love you, baby. And I'll never, never let you go. I'll need you. In the world, want you. In the world, love you. In the midnight hour. Ooh, 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 ooh. In the midnight hour.
December 1956 release there for the Drivers. The Drivers on Deluxe, the second of 3 for Sid Nathan's Deluxe record label. Midnight Hours is the name of the tune. You know, Johnny G is here till the midnight hours every Saturday from 10 to midnight. Feature that one on my bio promo copy. I love to get those Federal Deluxe and Kings with the bio promos. I think they did it up to late 57 or early 58 they did that. But that's pretty cool. You get a lot of cool information about the groups. They give you the group members. They give you where they're from. That's where a lot of the history comes from some of these groups. Johnny G babbling on here. You know, we count down the music chronologically at least the 50s and early 60s edition. And this is an early one here. This group, they hail from Baltimore, Maryland. They were signed to Sid Nathan's King label. Here is their third release on the King label. It features Eddie Rich on lead. Now, I do own a copy of this on blue vinyl. It looks pretty cool. A nice mint copy, by the way. But let's give a spin to my first copy that I found in Elmsford, New York at a garage sale sometime in the early 80s. Cost me all of 15 cents. It's VG. So what? I don't care. It's worth it, I say. It's It's an early classic. We go to December of 1951. These are the Swallows on King with Eternally.
Why did you leave? Where can you be? I search for you eternally. I'm so alone. It's plain to see I long for you eternally. Why did we part? I do know this, you broke my heart. Without you, dear, life cannot be. I love you till eternity. Come back, my sweet. Come back to me and stay eternally.
Early sides here on the Vinyltreasure Show. Those are the Swallows. The Swallows from December 1951. Eddie Rich on lead on the King record label, a song entitled Eternally, worth every bit of the 15 cents I paid for. The other one was I think that green label. It's green or blue, I forget, or that kind of in-between color King 45 that I have. Somebody had it on eBay, and I made him an offer. He listed it, and I made him an offer. Actually, I took two. I took that other record, The Train Kept a Rollin'. Who did that one? It's a blues record, or up-tempo blues record, so I bought the two of them for a great price. I did. Anyway, Johnny G babbling on here. Let's continue now. Got about 8 sides from last week's Vinyltreasure Show, flip sides that we'll feature tonight. Now, last week I played a request for the doo-wop couple from Michigan, Ron and Dorothy. They wanted to hear the Four Bells, a group out of Harlem, New York. I featured them on the Gem record label. The side I played was called Please Tell It To Me. That was the ballad side. Let's flip it over because it's a jump on the flip with the Blues Express Orchestra. This going out to Ron and Dorothy. We go back to June of 1953. The Four Bells on Gem. It's called Long Way to Go.
In the barn laid by the clock, the rooster looked up and said, baby, don't stop. You got a long ways to go. You got a long ways to go. You got a long ways to go and a short time to make it in. Well, the buzzard eagle, they took a flight. The buzzer turned around and said nothing inside. You got a long ways to go. You got a long ways to go. You got a long ways to go and a short time to make it in. You got a long ways to go. You got a long ways to go. You got a long ways to go. Ways to go. You got a long ways to go and a short time to make it in. Baby, I was gonna wait. She didn't even budge, but I heard him say, you got a long ways to go. You got a long ways to go. You got a long ways to go and a short time to make it in. Well, I listened last night at my neighbor's door. I heard somebody say, let's try it once more. You got a long ways to go. Well, you got a long ways to go. Well, you got a long ways to go and a short time to make it in. You got a long ways to go. Well, 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 you got a long ways to go and a short time to make it in.
That's by request for the doo-wop couple there. It's too loud. The phone's been ringing off the hook. That's for the doo-wop couple, Ron and Dorothy, the Four Bells there, June 1953, Long Way to Go. That's the first of two on the Gem record label. That is the harder 45 to find for sure. And that's a pretty nice copy. I spent a lot of money on that 45. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening as we continue. And we move into 1954 with a release on George Goldner's Yellow and Green color G record label. Actually, if you collect the G record label like I do, you got to have this one because this is the truly the first record on G. Now, you may think that it's the Cleftones, the Cleftones, You Baby You. I think that's G number 1000. Well, this is G number 1. Number 1, it is a female lead with a male group backing, although the males do not get credit on the label, but her name is Lorraine Ellis, and the group backing her up are none other than the Crows that recorded on George Goldner's Rama label. They had a big hit called G in 1954, but these are the Crows backing up Lorraine Ellis, and this song goes way back to it's a Mexican tune. I think the lyrics were published in 1939, but you may have thought, I think I typed it in my Facebook page, that a lot of us thought the Ventures did this song, but no, it goes way back. But this gal does a nice rendition. Lorraine Ellis being backed up by the Crows. We go to April 1954. This is on the G label, her rendition of the tune Perfidia.
With the sentiment, my demon faded like a broken melody. While the cars of love looked down and laughed at what romantic fools we call away.
And now I know my love was not for you, and so I'll take it back with a sigh. Perfidia's one goodbye.
melody. While the garden loved the down and laughed at what romantic food we models did.
I know my love was not for you, and so I'll take it back with a sigh. But it is one
That's Lorraine Ellis and the Crows, April 1954 on George Goldner's G record label. That is the first release on the G record label. G number 1, Perfidia is the name of the tune. This song was reissued in August of 1955 on the Bullseye record label. I have it on Bullseye. I remember I was at a record show in New Jersey. Barry Soltz had the record. He goes, Johnny G, do you need this 45 on Bullseye? I said, well, I have it on G. Do I really want it on Bullseye? Well, I collect the Bullseye label. It was a missing number, so I took it. Johnny G, a completist. Yes, I am. I need my head examined. As we continue here for a Saturday evening, we are in the year 1954, and on last week's Vinyltreasure Show, I featured a group called the Barons on the Decca label, their first of 2 on Decca. It was called My Baby's Gone. Now, this group formed by X4 Buddies lead singer Larry Harrison. Now, the flip side is written by Luther Dixon, and it mentions on the label that it features Sam the Man Taylor on tenor sax. It's with Leroy Kirkland and the orchestra. Let's give it a spin here. These are the Barons with Larry Harrison on lead, X4 Buddies lead singer, from August 54 on Decca. It's called A Year and a Day.
Well, 1 year, 1 day, had to what the good judge said. Hard work, no pay, and you'll eat beans every day. There will be beans for breakfast, beans for lunch. Beans is gonna be your daily crunch. Every selling moonshine, and you know it's a crime, and you're surely gonna get some time. Well, 1 pick or 1 spade, no trees, no shade, 1 ball, 1 chain, no shelter from the rain. You're gonna live in a shack about 6 feet wide, a man with a shotgun standing outside, selling moonshine, and you know it's a crime, and you're surely gonna get some time. One pick or 1 spade, no trees, no shade, 1 pole, 1 chain, no shelter from the rain. You're gonna live in a shack 6 feet wide, a man with a shotgun standing outside, selling moonshine, and you know it's a crime, and you're surely gonna get some time. Well, good judge, all I say, I'll do your year and your day. But one thing, before I go, I'll never be here no more. I'm gonna build me a shack on the outskirts of town. Nobody don't know what I'm putting down. Every selling moonshine, and you know it's a crime, and you're surely gonna get some time. Do you hear what I say? Oh boy, year and a day.
That's the first of 2 on the Decca label for the Barons. The Barons there with Larry Harrison on lead. August 1954 release on the Decca record label. A Year and a Day is the name of the tune. Johnny G here for Saturday evening as we continue here. We move into 1955. Now, I haven't heard this next song in quite a while. It's a cool group out of Chicago, Illinois, recorded two for Al Benson's Parrot record label. Let's give a listen to their second. I like both sides of this 45. It features Gilbert Warren on lead. We go to October of 1955. Give a listen to the Orchids on Parrot, and their classic tune. It's called You Said You Loved Me.
You said you loved me, now you're gone. How did my heart know right from wrong? You said you loved me till the day I died. Till the day I died. You said you loved me and said goodbye. Why did you break my heart with all those lies? You said you loved me, but now, darling, goodbye. You know I love you. What did I do wrong? I never caused you pain, or did you harm? You said you would love me with all your heart. Say we'll never part. You said you loved me and said goodbye. Why did you break my heart with all those lies? You said you loved me, but now, darling, goodbye. You know I love you. What did I do wrong? I never caused you pain, or did you harm? You said you would love me with all your heart. Say we'll never part. You said you loved me and said goodbye. Why did you break my heart with all those lies? You said you loved me, but now, darling, it's goodbye.
Those are the Orchids on the Parrot label, Al Benson's Parrot Records. That goes back to October 1955. The Orchids with Gilbert Warren on lead. You Said You Love Me. They do four great sides for the Parrot label. There's actually a CD also where they have other releases. I forget who put that CD out. It was like the best of Parrot. There's a whole bunch of rare 45s on there, but it's the unreleased masters on there that are pretty nice. That's what I would buy the CDs for the unreleased masters. But I can't play them here on the Vinyltreasure Show, unfortunately. But anyway, those are the Orchids. Johnny G loves the Orchids. Hopefully you do too. Let's continue here. We are in the year 1955. Up next, the female singer. This gal, originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, began recording for Herman Lubinsky's Savoy Records back in 1952, but she relocated out to the West Coast in 1954, and she cut a 45 on the Bahari Brothers Modern label as Linda Peters. That's not an easy record to find. I do have that record. Have it here somewhere in this mess of 45s to play, probably because she was probably signed to Savoy Playboy Records when she moved out to the West Coast. But with her next release on the Modern label, she went back to her original name, Dolly Cooper. So this would be her second of 4 on the Modern label with Maxwell Davis and his orchestra. And by the way, the Flares are backing her up on this tune. Let's go to August 1955. Dolly Cooper on the Modern label, a song entitled Alaba.
Hey, lover, don't you hear me calling? Ooh, la la, baby, I'm falling. You know what I'm trying to say, so don't look the other way. Hey, lover, you're my heart desire. Ooh, la la, set my soul afire. I'm shouting as loud as I can, so please say you understand when I say, hey, lover, ooh, 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 la la, hey, lover, ooh, 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 la la. If you'd only wave your hand, I know that you understand. Hey, lover, sugar-coated darling. Ooh-wee, la la. Don't you hear me calling? You know what I'm trying to say. Do I have to tell you more? Hey, lover, gee, you look exciting. Ooh, ooh, la la. Thrilling and inviting. I'm ready to take my leap. If you give me just one peep. When I say, hey, lover, ooh, 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 la la. Hey, lover, ooh, 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 la la. If you'd only wave your hand, I know that you understand. Hey, 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 lover, ooh, 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 la la. Hey, lover,
That is Johnny G going crazy here. That is the Dolly Cooper and the Flares supposedly backing her up on that tune. Alaba is the name of that one. Came out on the Bahari Brothers Modern record label August 1955, the second of 4 she did on the Modern label. We continue here. We move into 1956 with a flip from last week's Vinyltreasure Show. It's on Morty Craft's Melba label. I featured the debut 45 for the Legends. The Legends. It was a frantic jump called I'll Never Fall in Love Again. The lead led by the high falsetto of Marshall Samples. Now, here is again Marshall Samples on lead on the flip side, a song he co-wrote with tenor of the group Richard Brunson. Let's go to September 1956. These are the Legends on Melba. It's a ballad. It's called The Eyes of an Angel.
I looked in the eyes of an angel as she said to me softly in the still of the night.
Those are the legends from September 1956. The Eyes of an Angel came out on the Melba record label. Marshall Samples on lead for that one. They would have one more release in the fall of 1957 on B. Caslin's Hull label, The Legend of Love, another great side that they do. Johnny G here spinning original vinyl 45s. Let's kind of go backtrack 1 year for this vocal quartet from Hollywood, California. Began recording for the Blend label back in 1955. Then they signed with John Getz's Million label, and this is their second of two on the Million label. It features Ben Hughes on lead. It's along with the Monroe Tucker. No, did I say that? Did I do that right? Yeah, the Monroe Tucker Orchestra. We go to June of 1955 for the Chromatics. The Chromatics on Million. It's called Tell a Lie.
If the truth will hurt someone you love, tell a lie, tell a lie, tell a lie, tell a lie. If the truth will bring a tear from her eyes, tell a lie, tell a lie, tell a lie, tell a lie. Yes, tell her that you love her, if that will make her smile. Though you're lying, you'll discover that you'll mean it after a while. If the truth will hurt, yes, someone you love, tell a lie, tell a lie, tell a lie. Little white lie. A great fat lie. Same old lie. If the cold hard truth will hurt the one you love, tell a lie, tell a lie, tell a lie, tell a lie. If the plain bare facts brings teardrops from her eyes, tell a lie, tell a lie, tell a lie, tell a lie. Yeah, tell her that you love her, if that will make her smile. Though you're lying, you'll discover that you'll mean it after a while. If truth will hurt, yes, someone you love, tell a lie, tell a lie, tell a lie. A little white lie, tell a lie, tell a lie. A big fat lie, tell a lie, tell a lie, 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 lie.
Called the Chromatics. Chromatics from June 1955. It's on the Million label, and it features Ben Hughes on lead. I have other releases by Ben Hughes, I think on Specialty, and that tune called Tell a Lie. And that group, they backed up other artists on labels. Bob Williams, I think, on Blend. Sherry Jackson also on this Million label. I have that one. Jules Savoy on the Real label. Those are rare records on that Real label. I have them all. I had a deal. I had paid one. I paid four figures for one, and then he had the other three or four, and they were expensive. I said, look, you got a couple. If you cut a couple thousand off the total, I'll take them all, and he did. Anyway, Johnny G babbling on here for a Saturday evening. Hope you're digging on the tune here. Yes, North Dakota Bob, I lost 84 pounds, around that. I've been fluctuating up and down, but I'm feeling good about what I'm doing and how I'm managing my weight slight loss, and I feel so much better now. But let's continue here. That's why I say I gave up beer. I did. As we continue here on the Vinyltreasure Show, this next group, they're out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They formed while all in high school together. Now, their first release came out on the Capitol label in January of '56. They followed it up with this release on the MGM label. This song originally done by the Orioles on Jubilee back in 1952. So let's give a listen to this version by a group called The Notes. We go to September of 1956, The Notes on MGM and their rendition of the tune Trust in Me.
Darling, give your love to me. Make my life like a song. If you just believe in me, nothing can go wrong.
Trust in me in all you do. Have the faith I have in you. Love will see us through as long as you trust in me.
Trust in me.
Come to me when things go wrong. Cling to me, darling, I'll be strong. Yes, we can get along as you trust in me. While there's a moon above, while there are birds to fly, while there is you and I, you can be sure. I love you. Stay beside me all the while. Face the future with a smile. Trust in me and I'll be worthy of you. And I'll be worthy of you.
Good to the last drop. Now those are The Notes. September 1956 release. Trust in Me is the name of that one on the MGM record label. Both sides of this record are excellent in my opinion. I like to flip a tad better. Of course, you're going to hear it in a couple of weeks. Next Saturday, it's my all 1960s show. That's the last Saturday of the month. It'll be my birthday week next Saturday. My birthday, September 3rd. Barbara and I are going to, she asked me what I wanted to do for my birthday, so we're going to go see Vito Picone and the Elegants and Larry Chance and the Earls at the Evening Dinner Theater in Elmsford. So she's going to take me there, but it's like November 19th. It's like a Tuesday, I think. But she wants to take me out either it's going to be next Saturday, an early dinner. I'll be back to do the show, though. But it's Johnny G's birthday weekend next week. Anyway, getting a year older. I don't know about that. But let's continue here on the Vinyltreasure Show. Let's flip over another 45 from last week. I played the Cadillacs' 7th release on Jerry Blaine's Josie label. It was called Woe Is Me. I also dig on the flip side, a great flip side on this record. It features Earl Speedo Carroll on lead along with Jesse Powell and the orchestra. Let's go back to May 1956, the Cadillacs on Josie and their tune Betty My Love.
Betty, my love, your letter just can't hang. Betty, my love, no, I'm to blame. I'm sorry I stayed away so long. I was in trouble, I had to leave you. I didn't want to grieve you. Please, Betty, please say you wait for me. I'll be home in November. We'll start our love anew. Darling, always remember, I love no one but you. Betty, my love, Betty, my sweetheart, we'll soon be together, never to part. Please, Betty, I know I've done you wrong. I'll be home in November. We'll start our love anew. Darling, always remember, I love no one but you. Betty, my love, Betty, my sweetheart, we'll soon be together, never to part. Please, Betty, please say you wait for me. Please say you wait for me. Please say you wait for me. Please say you wait for me.
Yeah, those are the great Cadillacs. The Cadillacs from May 1956 on the Josie label. That's their seventh release, a great two-sided 45, Woe Is Me, backed with Betty My Love, Earl Speedo Carroll on lead for that one. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening as we continue here on the Vinyltreasure Show. This next group, they're out of New York. They only had one release. We go back to George Goldner's G record label for this one. Now written by two of the group members, Leonard Lawson and Jake Briggs. And throw in a mention of George Goldner, as he always would get writer credits. You know, George Goldner had to make money all the way around on his records that he released. But anyway, it's still a great tune here. January 1956. Give a listen to the Valtones. The Valtones on G with a song entitled Have You Ever Met an Angel?
Have you ever met an angel who could break your heart in two? Have you ever met an angel who could fall in love with you? Have you ever met an angel who could love, yes,
Yes, I've met, oh, met an angel, and that one is you. Have you ever met an angel who could break your heart in two? Yes, I've met, oh, met an angel, and that one is you.
That's the only release for the Valtones. The Valtones from January 1956. Have You Ever Met an Angel is on the George Goldner's G record label. Lots of cool tunes. Braden, I do not have the Jets, Heaven Above Me. I don't have that. That is on my want list. I do have some rare records on the G label. I also need the Coins on the Yellow G. I do need that. Some of these records are really hard to find. And Johnny G got into the collecting program late. I was in high school and I didn't have any money. I was buying records, like I said, for 15 cents and 25 cents. Then I kind of graduated up as I found out about Discoveries Magazine, Goldmine Magazine. They started to have record shows, at least here in New York, on Friday nights. It was cool to go to work and then go to a record show at night local. It was a lot of fun, but then it's crazy. Now, one of the best shows there was a show in Cranford, New Jersey that was great. I only went once. I didn't go for many years. It was a mistake on my part. I've been to Allentown. The Allentown show, I always found stuff at Allentown. Either I went early or I set up deals with people. But then I had others that would look for me. They would go there because I couldn't make it, and they'd say, "Johnny, do you need the Flamingos on Chance?" And there would be records like that. They'd come and they'd bring them to the house. Of course, it's thousands of dollars that I'd have to dish out. But I don't know. I got to see. I had all intentions of going on October 5th, I think, to the Allentown, Pennsylvania show. I have a wedding on the 28th. I will not be doing that show. And I think Barbara and I are doing something that week. So I don't know if I'm going to make it to that show. I really would want to go to that October 5th show because I think it'll be a lot of fun. Anyway, let's continue here. And on the last Vinyl Treasure Show, I featured the debut single by this integrated group from the Bronx, New York. They were called the Heartbreakers. The song was called Without a Cause. It featured the lead singer of Paul Himmelstein. I also liked the flip side, which was written by a young Bronx singer-songwriter. Her name was Shirley Elliston, and she would later have her biggest hit in 1965, if you're familiar with the song The Name Game, as her name was Shirley Ellis. And she had other records that were hits also in the mid-1960s, but she wrote this song for the Heartbreakers. Let's go back to February 1957, the Heartbreakers on Vic. It's the first of two on Vic. It's called 1-2, I Love You.
I'll give you 10 to say you'll be mine again. 1-2, I love you, you know I do. I really do. 3-4, don't close the door to your heart. 5-6, I'm gonna fix the whole in our romance. 7-8, let's get straight. Give me a chance. 9, please be kind. Can't get you out of my mind. 10, I won't say 10. I'll have to start all over again. 1-2, I love you, you know I do. I really do. 3-4, don't close the door to your heart. heart.
To your heart, to your heart.
5, 6, I'm gonna fix the hole in our romance. 7, 8, let's get straight. Give me a chance.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I won't say 10. I won't say 10. I'll start over again.
Yes, Paul Himmelstein on lead there with the Heartbreakers. February 1957, that's the first of two on the Vic record label. Vic was previously X Records. They changed it to Vic. 1, 2, I Love You is the name of that one there. Shirley Ellis wrote that tune. Probably a simple poem that they made into music. What a great, it's so easy and simple it is. Johnny G being easy and simple, spinning original vinyl 45s every Saturday from 10 to midnight. It's my all 1950s and early 60s edition. Next Saturday will be 1964 and later sounds. Got a lot of soul records, a lot of some garage, some nice sunshine pop records that I've collected as I got a little older, and my aunt really exposed me to all this music during her career. Unfortunately, she is no longer with us. She was supposed to be a guest on my show, a guest listener, a guest aunt on my show to play her records, but that will never be. But anyway, let's continue here. Let's stay in the year of 1957. We head out to Chicago, Illinois for this next group. It's on the VJ subsidiary Falcon Records. This is the intended B-side of their debut single with Al Smith and the orchestra. This tune co-written by the lead singer. His name is Paul Jackson. I love both sides of this 45. We go back to November 1957 for the Falcons on the Falcon label. A song entitled Now That It's Over.
Oh, 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 now that it's over, I still
Need you, need you, need you.
Now that it's over, I still
Want you, want you.
You say goodbye and made me cry. You made me cry. Now that you've gone, I still
Miss you, miss you.
yes, I still miss that.
Miss you, miss you, miss you.
Gave to me. Darling, I think that is better. Now that we've said goodbye, that's why I'm writing a letter. Oh, you know the reason why. Now that it's over, I still
Love you, love you.
that's why this letter that I
Send you, send you.
in good faith. Now that is the end. Always be friends.
That's Definitely my kind of ballad there. Those are the Falcons from November 1957. Paul Jackson on lead. It's on the Falcon label. How many groups can you name that they are named after the label? There are actually quite a few, believe it or not, but that's the Falcons with Now That It's Over, Paul Jackson on lead. They would also record as the Lyrics on the parent label, VJ Records, but that's a great record. I remember when I first was collecting, I was looking for that record. I was able to get it from Disco Disc for 75 cents. They had reproductions for 75 cents, but they played crappy. I said, these records sound horrible. So when I started getting originals like that one, I think I put an ad in Goldmine or Discoveries, whatever, and I couldn't believe the people that were paying me like $15 and $20 for those reproductions much later. I still have some in my collection that I need to get rid of, so I don't want these reproductions. I do have a few. Some of the Ratio boots are really nice though, but they're not cheap. They go for quite a bit. Anyway, Johnny G babbling on here as we continue. We are in the year 1957. Never get tired of hearing this next group, this group from Harlem, New York. All their songs were often played here in New York City on various oldie stations, but no more. You can't hear their records anymore. I don't even hear their hit, Desiree. I don't hear it anymore. But they had 5 releases on Danny Robinson's Everlast label. Their biggest was their debut 45. Of course, I mentioned it, Desiree. That was their biggest. But here is their follow-up, and it's a song my aunt really liked. She never had this on a 45, but she always liked it. And when I first got it, when I was playing it for her, it was on Lost Night Records, but I have it on the original, of course, but she loved this tune. Joe Greer is on lead. This one was number 34 on WABC radio here in New York City. We go to October 57. Give a listen to the charts on Everlast with a classic. It's called Dance Girl.
Woo!
Joe Greer and the Charts there. What a cool tune that is. Dance Girl is the name of that tune. October 1957 release. That's the follow-up to Desiree on Danny Robinson's Everlast record label. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening as we continue here. We are in the year 1957. Up next to 45 on Jack Hook's Royal Roost label. Now, Jack Hook, he was Alan Freed's business partner. They did quite a few deals in the mid-1950s. Now, this gal goes by the name of V. Jennings, and there is a vocal group backing her up on this, and no one seems to really know who it is. It's possible that it's the Bachelors that also recorded for Royal Roost. They do a nice tune called I've Lied, but it's a nice tune here. We're going to give a listen to V. Jennings from October 1957 and group on Royal Roost, a song entitled Don't Let It Die.
You say I put fire deep in your heart. Keep it alive, don't let it die. And I'm your desire, and we'll never part. Keep it alive, oh no, don't let it die. For this heart of mine is yours alone, to have and hold for your very own. I pledge my life, long as I live, to you, my dear. I'll always give this love that grows high beyond the blue. Please, dear, be true. Whatever you do, keep it alive. Oh no, don't let it die. Heart of mine is yours alone, to have and hold for your very own. I pledge my life, long as I live, to you, my dear. I'll always give this love that grows high beyond the blue. Please, dear, be true. Whatever you do, keep it alive. Don't let it die.
October 1957 there for V. Jennings and a vocal group. It sounds like the Bachelors. It could be. I don't think it's the Bow Ties. I don't think it's them. But anyway, V. Jennings there on Royal Roost Records. Don't Let It Die is the name of that one. I need the chimes on, I think, on Royal Roost. On a 78, though. Anyway, Johnny G here, babbling on as we continue here. And let's go to Brooklyn, New York. Till we go to Ben Smith's Extra label. Actually, this group out of Brooklyn, New York. Go to Ben Smith's Extra label. And this is the B-side to their second release on the Extra label. It features Johnny Marcy on lead. This one is, we go into 1958, February 58 to be exact. Give a listen to the Young Tones on Extra, their tune called Patricia.
You're my girl.
I've gone out with many girls, but they're all the same. Just one stands out in my mind.
But I can't remember her name.
I Her name could be maybe Sue, even be Felicia. Oh yes, I remember now.
That her name's Patricia.
Patricia, my heart is bustling at the seams. Oh, Patricia, you're the one girl of my dream. Oh, Patricia, you just don't know how much it means to have you in my arms. I'll keep looking all the time till one day I'll meet you. If you say that you'll be mine,
I do, Patricia.
oh Patricia, my heart is busting at the seams. Oh Patricia, you're the one girl of my dreams. Oh Patricia, you just don't know how much it means to have you in my arms. I'll keep looking all the time till one day I'll meet you. If you say that you'll be mine,
I do, Patricia.
Patricia, oh Patricia, oh Patricia, oh Patricia, oh Patricia, oh Patricia, oh Patricia.
Johnny G getting caught here. Those are the Young Tones. Whoops. Those are the Young Tones. February 1958. That is their second release on Ben Smith's Extra record label. He may have been playing saxophone. You know, Ben Smith was a saxophone player. He really had a lot of things that he did in the music industry. He owned this record label. He wrote tunes. He did a lot of things. But those were the Young Tones with Patricia. And, their first record, You I Adore. That's not an easy record to find. It's easy to find on the second press because Times Square Records was selling those extra recordings. They repressed them. The Collegians, I don't know if the Unknowns was repressed or not, but or the Heart Spinners or not, but definitely the Young Tones were. But their first record's very hard, and their last record, one that Ronald Jackson does, Can I Come Over? He's the brother of Adam Jackson of the Jesters, a song entitled Can I Come Over? That's a great record they do. I remember hearing that one on the Gus Gossard Show. Johnny G here, spinning original vinyl 45s. Chip, thank you for saying my records sound good. I have two new needles on the turntable, so they better sound good tonight. And I always do. When Dave the Rave comes up here, he says, Johnny G, your system sounds fantastic. It does. And I blast it here. I blast it up here. You know, my father's going a little deaf, so he really can't hear. He used to holler from down below. He would say, lower that. But now I blast it up until 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning. Anyway, let's continue here. Now, earlier in the show, we heard from the Swallows. I featured their December 51 release, Eternally. Now, the group disbanded by the end of 1953, but late in 57, Eddie Rich and Calvin Rolette decided to resurrect the Swallows and arrange an audition with the brass at King Records, which resulted in 4 releases that came out on the sister label Federal Records. And I'm filling a request for listener George Tompkins. He requested their 4th release on Federal. It features Calvin Rolette on lead, and he also co-wrote the tune with Federal A&R man Andy Gibson. Let's go to July of 1958 for George Tompkins. These are the Swallows on Federal, and with a song entitled Who Knows Do You?
I pray that someday I'll find someone with a heart so true. If all my prayers are answered, will a prayer come true? Who knows? Who knows, do you? Oh, I dream of a scene of a cottage just built. Oh, are of the mind, dear. Can a dream come true? Who knows? Who knows, do you? I know that I'm like a clown in a circus, the life of the party, you see. But when you're not here beside me, none of the laughs are on me. Oh, I pray and I dream, and I'm hoping they all will come true. But perhaps it was meant just to be this way. Who knows? Who knows? Do you?
As Johnny G gets caught, I'm playing around with my webcam is what I'm doing here as other people come into the chat room. Anyway, that is a great request, George. Thank you for requesting that tune by the Swallows, July 1958. That's their fourth release on the Federal label. Calvin, I think he told me Calvin Khaki Roulette is on lead with that one. Who knows, do you? That one there on the Federal record label. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening as I try to line up this, there you go, line up this webcam video camera. Anyways, let's head back out to Los Angeles, California to Lenora Roop's Ebb label. She was the wife of Art Roop. They ended up in a terrible divorce, and she ended up with a record label out of it, Ebb Records, which is pretty cool. Now, the lead singer of this group goes by the name of Ralph Mathis, and it's mentioned on the label. It says featuring Ralph Mathis, and Ralph is really the younger brother of pop singer Johnny Mathis. Johnny Mathis of Chances Are fame. So let's give a listen to this lone release by a group called The Ambers. The Ambers here from February 58. It's on the Ebb label. It's called Never Let You Go.
I can't live without you. I'll never let you go.
Tumape, 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 tuliwap.
Tumape, 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 tuliwap. Tumape, 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 tuliwap. Tumape, 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 tuliwap.
Do-a-do-a-do, wap, do-a-do-a-do.
You know I love you so. I'll never let you go. I love you so.
Do-a-do-a-do, wap, do-a-do-a-do.
You're oh so sweet. You're walking down the street. You're right on my beat.
Do-a-do-a-do, wap, do-a-do.
You've got me where you want me. You know that it's true. Yes, my darling, I'd do anything for you. You know I love you. You know that I do. Please don't ever say we're through. You know I love you so. I'll never let you go. I love you so. You've got me where you want me. You know that it's true. Yes, my darling, I'd do anything for you. You know I love you. You know that I do. Please don't ever say we're through. You know I love you so. I'll never let you go. I'll never let you go.
Do-a-do-a-do, wap, do-a-do-a-do.
You know I love you so. I'll never let you go. I love you so. I'll never let you go.
February 1958 release there for the Ambers. It features Ralph Mathis on lead. That's Johnny Mathis's brother. Too bad Johnny Mathis didn't sing like that. Anyway, Never Let You Go is the name of the tune. Art Roop's, not Art Roop's, his ex-wife's, Lenora Roop's Ebb record label out of Hollywood, California. Johnny G here going crazy, spinning original vinyl 45s out of my collection. We count down the music chronologically. We are in the year 1958. That is my year. That is my birthday year. Yes, it is. And up next, a request for Chuck Stanton, listening out in Henderson, Nevada. Thank you, Chuck, for your email and your requests. And Chuck wanted to hear this group out of Newport News, Virginia. Now, their debut 45 came out on the Groove label back in 1956. It was called Chains Around My Heart, but they do a number of excellent sides. And Chuck requested a classic they do that came out on the Unart label, although there is a Canadian press of this, different version, much earlier, very crude sounding version of this that goes for some big bucks, which I don't have. But anyway, Chuck requested this one on Unart, a subsidiary of United Artists Records. It features Raphael Ingram on lead. Let's go back to December 1958 for the Avalons. The Avalons on Unart with their tune called Heart's Desire.
You're my heart's desire. You're my heart's desire. You are my heart's desire. You set my soul on fire. Your lips are close to mine. You'll find you're my heart's desire. No other love could be as sweet as yours to me. Yours, oh darling, can't you plainly see? You're my heart's desire. No other dream could replace that lonely, that empty space, and fill my heart with the love. For it's you I'm dreaming of. There's one thing I know, that wherever you may go, I'll forever keep on loving you so. You're my heart's desire. You are my heart's desire.
By request there for Chuck Stanton, those are the Avalons, December 1958 release there. Raphael Ingram on lead on the Unart record label. Heart's Desire is the name of that one. I remember hearing that one on the Gus Gossard show. It was played on oldie radio here in New York City, and I saw them sing that on a PBS special. It was amazing. They sounded just like the record. It really was. Some of those PBS specials are pretty darn good. A lot of those groups, though, no longer with us, unfortunately, but we will always have the records. And this song originally recorded in January of 58, only to be released in December of the year. I wonder why it took them that long to release this record. Maybe there was contracts with with RCA or Groove Records. I don't know. Johnny G babbling on here as we talk about records every Saturday, but let's continue here. And we go out of year a little bit. We go up to 1959 for this next 45 that first came out it came out in 1959, but the group is from Memphis, Tennessee, as this song initially came out on the Satellite label, Jim Stewart's Satellite label, which eventually became the Stax label, but this was picked up by Mercury Records, and the tune was written by Chips Moman, who played guitar on the session, and Jerry Arnold, who played the drums. Now, Jerry Arnold happened to be the drummer for Bill Black's Combo. He's on this record, and this one charted regionally. This was number 28 on WHOQ out of Memphis, Tennessee. Let's go back to September of 1959 for this group called the Veltones. The Veltones on Mercury. It's called Fool in Love.
Another one of your fools. I'm just a fool, a fool in love with you. A fool in love. Fools in love. Fools in love. I'm just a fool in love with you. You said you love me, said you'll be true. I'm just a fool, a fool in love with you. A fool in love. Love was a game by your own rule. I'm just another one of your fools. I'm just a fool, a fool in love with you. A fool in love.
Got a cool guitar in there, though. Those are the Veltones there, September 1959 release. I featured it on the second press, the Mercury label. Fool in Love is the name of that one. I think I have it on Satellite. Sometimes Johnny G goes out of his mind. I don't know. I could be half sleeping when I used to bid on 45s on eBay. Oh no, Brian, when I bid on those 45s. But anyway, this group would have one more release on the Goldwax label in 1966, I think, this Veltones group. But I got to check. I think I have that Satellite Records. I got a few records on Satellite. Anyway, Johnny G babbling on here. Let's continue now. Over the last few weeks, I've been featuring sides by a group called the Chanters. The Chanters, they were out of Queens, New York, and last week I featured their second of four on Sid Nathan's Deluxe label. I played the first version of their tune, No, 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 which would be a moderate national hit the second time around when it came out in 61. But let's flip over that 1958 release, and they do a cover that was covered by so many vocal groups through the years, originally made popular by Judy Garland. But let's listen to the version by the Chanters. It features Larry Pendergrass on lead. We go back to October 1958 for the Chanters on Deluxe and their rendition of the song Over the Rainbow.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of. Once in a lullaby. Somewhere
Those are the Chanters on Deluxe, October 1958 release. Their rendition of the tune Over the Rainbow, Larry Pendergrass on lead. Now, Larry did lead on all the Chanters Deluxe releases, the sides, except one. Fred Page did lead on one tune. It was called Angel Darling, at least on the deluxe releases. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. Hope you're digging on the cool tunes here. Let's continue. We are in the year now, 1959. Actually, it looks like I mixed it up a little bit here. But this group is out of Detroit, Michigan. Daryl, I think you should know this group. Daryl, I think you're from Detroit, correct? Correct me if I'm not right. But this group had 2 overall releases. Their debut single came out initially on the Penthouse label back in 1958, then was picked up by Carlton Records, a great 2-sided 45, by the way. But now I'm featuring their second as we go to Al Silver's Herald label. This tune co-written by the lead singer. His name is Vernon Williams. We go back to January 1959. Give a listen to the Royal Holidays. The Royal Holidays on Herald Records and their tune called Down in Cuba.
Down in Cuba, that's where my baby likes to go. Just baby, I love me. Yes, I love you so. Baby, come on and ride my hand. I wanna be your man. Yes, I love you so. Darling, yes, you know I wanna you there. Oh, she's about to give me hell. Yes, I love you so. Darling, come on down and Cuba with me. Oh, how happy that we could be down in Cuba, you and I. Baby, won't you tell me that you're mine? Oh, man, I could love you just about all the time. And I love you so. Baby, come on and hold my hand. I wanna be your man. Yes, I love you so. Yes, I love you. One more time. Yeah.
Down in Cuba.
Yeah, those are the Royal Holidays. The Royal Holidays, January 1959 release on the Herald label. Al Silver's Herald Records. Down in Cuba is the name of that one. I remember the first time I heard that record, I used to buy when I first started collecting, didn't know anything. Only whatever my aunt played or anything that I heard on the radio, and everything that I heard was like Ritchie Valens, Dion and the Belmonts, the Chantels, the Dubs, Earl Lewis and the Channels. They were records that were popular here in the New York area. The Obscurities, I would tune into the Time Capsule Show, the R&B Review. I used to listen to George Tompkins when he was at Westchester Community College. I started writing down these songs. Bobby Owen, Jivin' Joe, the Roy Adams Show. There were a bunch of shows. I was learning about the music. I was only a teenager in high school, and I bought the best of Herald Records on a Relic LP, and the quality was horrible. They played terrible, those LPs. If you put them on CD, I think they play better, I think, when they put them on CD. And that's where I first heard that song, and then it took me a while to get the record. Not an easy record to find. No, it's not. But anyway, this tune, actually, for you collectors out there that to collect the Herald label, there was a pressing plant error with this record, and it affected some of those 45s with the labels. The Mellow King label, Chip, ended up on 45s that played Down in Cuba. For some reason, they kind of mix. These pressing plants were not without error. They made lots and lots of errors, they did, but that's one of them. Anyway, Johnny G babbling on here. Let's continue here. And got a request for The Colonel by this group known as the El Toros. Now, this group is from Alliance, Ohio, not to be confused with the group on Duke that I featured last week. Love is Love, I think I played a Duke release. That group from St. Louis, Missouri. This El Toros group just had this one release that came out on Harry Carlson's Fraternity label out of Cincinnati, Ohio. So by request for The Colonel, it's a wonderful song from June of '58, the El Toros on Fraternity, a song entitled Love is Love.
Love is love, no matter what you say. Love is love, it has always been that way. Oh yes, my darling, can't you see, can't you see? Love is love. Love is love, love is love. Oh, love is love. Believe in me, oh, without you, darling, nothing could ever be. Oh yes, my darling, can't you see, can't you see? Love is love. Love is love. Oh, well, you know I want you, know I need you, darling, please come home. No, I miss you, no, I love you, my darling, please come back and stay. Oh, love is love, believe in me, oh, without you, darling, nothing could ever be. Oh yes, my darling, can't you see, can't you see? Love is love. Love is love, love is love. Love is love. Love is
Filling a request for The Colonel there for the El Toros. Some static on that record. Bought that one from Louis Silvani. I have a nice mint stock copy of that somewhere floating around in the no humidity basement. But that's June '58, the El Toros on Fraternity. Love is Love. A wonderful tune as we continue here on the Vinyltreasure Show. Now, this next 45, not easy to find, came out on the Munich label, which is out of Hempstead, Long Island. Now, this is the same label that recorded the Bonnievilles. I'm sure some of you collectors are familiar with the Bonnievilles, Lorraine and Zuzu on this Munich label. But this group is called the Sport Tones, and I'm featuring the side that is described as, quote, fast rock. I'll show it to you again, those of you in the YouTube chat. And the flip side is another cool tune. But it's called Rock Ballad. But I know nothing about this group except that the song was written by William Maxwell and Nelson Holland. And I'm warning you ahead of time that the quality of this vinyl is not good. It had a horrible sound to it, but maybe with this new needle it plays a little better. So I played it with that other older needle. Maybe it sounds better, but there's a lot of static on this. I don't know what it is with this record, but there were problems with it from the get-go. But let's go back to November '59, the Sport Tones on Munich. This is the fast side. It's called So Sincere.
boom, boom, boom. So sincere, oh, I wish that you were near. I love you truly, oh my dear. You were so sincere. Since you've gone, I stay awake from night till when the night is gone, my darling, why did you go? You were so sincere. When I first met you, you were the prettiest thing, and I gave you my wedding ring. You gave it back and said goodbye, and left me all alone to mourn and cry. Said you're gone, I said when the night is gone, my darling, why did you go? You were so sincere.
I told you that record plays funky. It does. For some, I don't know what it is with that pressing plant or the vinyl, recycled vinyl or something. That record, they possibly pulled it. A lot of the records of that copy, that Munich copy, a lot of them have water damage or there's something wrong with that record. I know I used to talk about it with Greg Surik about that record. But anyway, it's a rare 45 by the Sport Tones. November 1959, So Sincere is the name of that side. Came out on the Munich record label. Johnny G here in the year 1959. We stay in that year for another request for Chuck Staton from Nevada. We go to Bob Shad's Time label for a group known as the Chariots. I dig both sides of this 45. Now, the A-side charted here in New York City on a WMGM. It reached number 25 on that station by this group known as the Chariots. By request for Chuck, we go to January 59 on the Time label. These are the Chariots with Gloria. To agree with Andrew Turner. That's a great tune there by request by request for Chuck Staton there. Those are the Chariots from January 1959. Gloria had it. It's on Bob Shad's Time record label. The true first press for you collectors out there, it has to be on the Blue Time label. I remember finding my first copy of this. I flipped out. I said, oh my goodness. Of course, it was VG minus. But I found it at Orangeburg, New York at the 303 Drive-In Flea Market one Sunday afternoon. I used to go there in Rockland County, and I used to scour that flea market. It was on these rocks, and then a couple miles away there was a sewage plant that if you used to get the breeze used to come over, it was horrible, but it was well worth it for some of my record finds at the time, which was a lot of fun back then. Sometimes it's not that fun when you spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Anyway, let's continue here. This next group is from North Versailles, Pennsylvania. They're known as the Teen Kings, not to be confused with the group that recorded on the B label and also recorded as the Del Reys on Chord. I think they were from Reading, Pennsylvania. But this group is totally different. I'm featuring the intended B-side of their only release that came out on Elmer Willette's Willette label, which is out of McKeesport, if I said it right. Anyway, this one from November 59, the Teen Kings on Willette. It's called My Greatest Wish. We'll send that one out to the Bopper Boy Warren, currently in the YouTube chat room. Like that, Teen Kings from November 1959, a song entitled My Greatest Wish on the Willette label. That is the B-side of the record. Now, the flip side, they do a nice tune, Don't Just Stand There, is the name of that one. I don't know, did they do it first, Don't Just Stand There, or the 5 chords on Jamie? I forget which one. They were out at the same time, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, Johnny G babbling on here as we continue here. Here's another request for George Tompkins, this group from Cleveland, Ohio. They first recorded as the Fabulous Flames on Rex Records back in 1958. They do a cool tune. I think it's My Joan, and then there's another girl on the flip, I forget. And I'm playing all girl group names tonight, by the way, girls' names tonight. But then in 1960, they signed with Bob Shad's Time label, and they were known as the Five Fabulous Flames, which brings up the next record, which is George's Request on Bob Shad's Shad label. They became the Big Five. This tune co-written by the lead singer Harvey Hall. Let's go back to June of 60. We are in the year 1960 now for the Big Five. The Big Five on Shad and their tune called Blue Eyes.
Blue skies remind me so of your deep blue eyes. Oh, you're never satisfied. Oh, those deep blue eyes. Deep blue eyes. Aren't you ever satisfied? I'll be right here by your side. Oh, those haunting blue eyes. Oh, blue skies, won't you let me alone? Look at me cry all through the night. And blue eyes, won't you let me alone? I wanna go home. Let me go home. Blue eyes, don't you know? I'll be right here by your side in that deep blue sky.
There you go there with the Big Five by request for George Tompkins' June 1960 release. A song entitled Blue Eyes on the Shad record label. Remember buying that one in the early 80s. John Tefteller used to take out a full-page ad in Goldmine magazine. That's one of the trade papers for collectors at the time. I think is it still around, or is Discovery still around? One of those papers was still around a few years ago. But he used to have quantity on certain records, and I would remember I would always bid on this record. I would bid like $4 or $5. I wouldn't win it. So once I went up to $10, I eventually did win this record. And I also won, I think that same day, the Fantastics. There Goes My Love. Those are two records I won from John Tefteller for $20. Well worth it back then. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening as we continue here. Let's head back to Brooklyn, New York for this next group who you all know. Initially, their first single came out on the Amp 3 label, which was later picked up by Mercury Records. And you know the name of the tune. It was called One Summer Night, which became their biggest hit. And after 3 more releases by the group, they split up. But lead singer Jimmy Weston wanted to continue recording, so their old manager, his name was Danny Webb, he was managing a group at the time called the Webtones. They have a release on the MGM record label, which is pretty good, by the way. And he asked Weston to join that group, and they became like the new Dan Lears group. And what they did is they signed with Epic Records, and 2 releases resulted. And we're going to give a listen to their first. This one charted regionally. This was number 9 on WNDR, if you were listening up in Syracuse, New York. Let's go to March of 1960, the Dan Lears on Epic with their tune, Half a Block from an Angel.
And I know that my angel feels the same about
door. Oh, I can see her both night and day, 'cause she only lives half a block away. Yeah, 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 yeah. Anytime she smiles at me, alone or in a crowd, one look from those angel eyes and I'm up on a cloud. I live half a block from an angel. Guess you call her divine. And to think that my angel is exclusively mine. Heaven knows that she's here to stay, and she only lives half a block away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just half a block away, dear. Walking my baby home.
We'll send that one out to Brian Korn in the YouTube chat room there. He likes that tune by the Dan Lears, March 1960, the first of two on the Epic record label. Jimmy Weston on lead there with the Dan Lears. For you collectors out there, the true title, in parentheses, I Live, and then it's half a block from an angel. And you want this record on a vinyl Epic promo versus the crappy styrene. Yuck. You know Johnny G hates styrene 45s. But I gotta say, their second Epic 45, for me, it's been impossible to find. I can't find that other Dan Lears 45. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening spinning. We are 1960s, early 60s 45s out of my collection. I got another request for the Colonel. He requested a cover tune originally recorded by the Dells on the VJ label back in 1956. But let's fast forward 5 years to 1961 for this group out of Los Angeles, California. They're called the Tokens, not to be confused with the Jay Siegel Tokens for Warwick and RCA and other labels, but this Tokens group is out of California, nor to be confused with the Tokens group that recorded for the Gary label. But an interesting thing about this record is that the 45 was produced by Tommy Rettig, Rettig, and he previously was the child star of the 1954 CBS TV show Lassie. And this song charted number 22 if you were listening out in San Bernardino, California on KFXM. So by request for the Colonel, let's go to January 61 for the Tokens on the Date label and their rendition of the tune, Oh, What a Night.
Oh, what a night to hold you dear. Oh, what a night to squeeze you dear. Oh, what a night to love you dear. That's why I love you so. Oh, what a night.
By request for the for the Colonel. No, who is that? Johnny G loses his mind. Yes, the Colonel. The Tokens there, January 1961. Their rendition of the Dells tune, Oh What a Night, came out on the Date record label. Now, for you collectors out there, the True First Press, if you own the True First Press, it should not mention nationally distributed by Eldo Records. It should not, as this one does not, and I have one that does. I will show those in the YouTube chat, which ones is which. Anyway, Johnny G babbling on here as we continue. We are in Vinyl Treasure Overtime now, or it's after 12 midnight here, so you know Johnny G always goes a little longer as we do. And we continue with the request, this time for Chuck Staton, as this song brings back fond memories of tuning in to WPIX FM in the early 1970s to the Gus Gossard Show, and he used to play this quite a bit. As Chuck wanted to hear this later Robbins group when Bobby Sheen took over for Grady Chapman. Now, Bobby Sheen probably best remembered as a member of Bobby B-Sox and the Blue Jeans. They recorded on the Phyllis label, but he also did lead on some of the Robbins releases on the Lavender label, and the prominent bass you hear on this record is that of Roy Richard. Then Bobby chimes in with the lead. So by request for Chuck, I have to apologize in advance. This is a crappy styrene press, which I hate. But anyway, by request for Chuck, we go back to March of 61 for the Robbins on Lavender and their rendition of the tune White Cliffs of Dover. By request for Chuck Staton, March 1961, the Robins with Bobby Sheen on lead, the first of two. They recorded on the Lavender label. This was number 27 on KYA out in San Francisco, California. Their rendition of the tune, The White Cliffs of Dover. We are in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. Let's continue in the year 1961 with a request for the Colonel. I just love this next tune, but can't find any information about the group. It came out on the Imperial label. This group is called the Fidels. I even researched the writer. His name is Frank Quattlebaum, and can't find any info about this guy, but I like this song a lot. By request for the Colonel, we go back to October 1961, the Fidels on Imperial. They're asking the magical question, what is love?
is like gold. Some say love is hard to find. Say love is hard to hold. Well, I like to know. I like to know exactly what is love. What is love? Some say love is like magic. Say love is so divine. Well, I like to know. I like to exactly where is mine, and I like to know. I like to know exactly what is love. What is love? Some say love is like the flower that grows and grows, but still that doesn't decide. The story hasn't been told. Some say love is so divine. Well, I like to know. I like to exactly where is mine, and I like to know. I like to know exactly what is love. What is love? What is love? Ooh, what is love? What is love? What is
By request for the Colonel, October 61, the Fidels, mixed guys and gals in that group. What is Love is the name of that one. Came out on the Imperial record label. I remember buying that one from Mike Demerjian. And no longer with us, both Mike and Carol. They used to be a lot of fun at the record shows, but they're both no longer with us. A lot of memories from collecting going back to the 1980s, and a lot of the dealers no longer with us, unfortunately, or with, at least that I remember. And it's a sad thing, it is, but all these records I purchased, I have every record I purchased. I wrote it down. I have a receipt of every record I bought. Johnny G needs his head examined as we continue here. Now, in the last Vinyl Treasure Show, I played a request for California listener Métis Campboy as a record by Elroy and the Excitements, as I love both sides of this 45. This group is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Came out on Lenny Martin's Atlanta label. Elroy and the Excitements were the name of the group, and the tune Métis requested was called My Love Will Never Die. Now, let's play the flip side for Detroit listener Daryl Letts, and the lead singer Elroy, his real name is Leroy Grammer. So by request for Daryl, we go to April 61 for Elroy and the Excitements on Aladdin Records out of Pittsburgh. It's called No One Knows.
No one knows. No one knows. No one knows. No one knows just how much I love you. If they knew, if they knew, they wouldn't do the things they do. They try to say, they try to say, they try to say, they try to say that we're not in love. They just don't know. They just don't know. And it isn't do the things they do.
By request for Daryl, that song sounds like another song. I'm just running through my mind. I can't remember what it is, but that's a cool tune from April 1961. A great two-sider there by Elroy and the Excitements on the Atlanta label, song entitled "No One Knows." Now, that was the intended A side of the record. Now, in 1962, this group would record as the Enchantments on the Romac label. They have a nice song called "Lonely Heart." Johnny G's here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. I got to get to a couple more requests here. And how many groups do you know that were called the Calendars? And there were a number of them in the late 1950s and early 60s. Now, the spelling sometime is different. The last three letters, A-R-S, E-R-S, that's one thing. Well, this group of Calendars is A-R-S, and they are from the Canarsie section of Brooklyn. I think they tried to emulate the Marcel's singing style, which is evident on this 45 on the co-ed label. It features Cecil Davis on lead. Let's go back to December 61 for the Calendars, or Calendars with an A, on co-ed records, and their tune called "I'm Gonna Laugh at You."
Mom, 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 ha ha ha, he he he. I'm gonna laugh at you. Oh, mom, rip, rip, I'm gonna laugh at you. Oh, mom, rip, rip, I'm gonna laugh at you. Oh, mom, rip, rip, I'm gonna laugh at you. Ha ha ha, he he he. I'm gonna laugh at you.
It's my turn now. I'm gonna laugh at you. The way you broke my heart, he's gonna break us too.
I'm gonna laugh at you.
You thought I was hurt, but I was laughing up my sleeve. I can't hardly wait to see a new love leave. Oh, you're telling all your girlfriends you put me down, but I don't really care. When they find out you're the biggest clown, I'll be walking on air. I heard him say he's gonna quit you, baby. And when you're crying boo, I'm gonna laugh at you. Oh, well, you're telling all your girlfriends you put me down, but I don't really care. When they find out you're the biggest clown, I'll be walking on air. I heard him say he's gonna quit you, baby. And when you're crying boo, I'm gonna laugh at you.
I'm gonna laugh at you. Oh, mo, rip, yep, I'm gonna laugh at you. Oh, mo, rip, yep, I'm gonna laugh at you. Oh, mo, rip, yep, I'm gonna laugh at you. Ha ha ha, he he he. I'm gonna laugh at you.
December 61 release there for the Calendars. The Calendars on the co-ed label, the bass sounding like a Marcel's bass for sure, but Cecil Davis on lead with the Calendars. I'm Gonna Laugh at You is the name of the tune. Johnny G's here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime, and we got another request for Chuck Stanton. Wanted to hear the Butanes. They were formed by James Petey Martin and Leroy Williams, former members of the Parakeets that recorded on the Atlas label. They had this lone release on Teddy McRae's Enrica label. Now, Chuck requested the B-side of the 45, which is an old standard recorded by so many vocal groups through the years. So by request for Chuck, let's give a listen to the Butanes, B-U-T-A-N-E-S, from May of 61 on Enrica Records, their rendition of the tune, That's My Desire.
To spend one night with you, it all alright.
By request for Chuck Staton there. Those are the Butanes. They're trying to sound like the Earl Lewis and the Channels version of that record from 1959, I think, or 58. But that one there from May of 61, the Butanes on the Enrica label, That's My Desire. Going out for Chuck. I guess Brian's going to get the flip side in 2 weeks. We're going to play the flip side for Brian. We'll see how good that side is as we continue here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. And up next here, a request for Bopper Boy Warren, currently in the YouTube chat room. Wanted to hear this Harlem, New York group that began recording back in 1958 for Central Records. They did a tune called Did It, and they had other releases on other different labels. Now, Warren requested their 45 on the Groove label, and we go back to February 1962. By request for Warren, give a listen to the Ladins on the Groove label, and their tune called That's What You Do to Me.
Every time I get to hold your hand, I get a feel pretty, baby, that I can hardly stand. Oh, baby, oh, baby, now what you do to me? Oh, hey, hey, do to me. Come on, baby. You make me scream every time you smile my way. And if I say, oh no, oh Lord, I can scream all day. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. What you do to me? Oh, hey, hey, hey. Bam-boom. Hey, hey. I get a feel down to my soul. I get a feel, baby, that's truly hard to control. It makes me jump, it makes me shout, it makes me run and walk about, it makes me high. Hey, 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 hold me. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. That's what you do to me. Oh, baby. Hey, hey, do to me. Hey, 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 that's what you do to me. So, come on.
By request for Bopper Boy Warren, those are the Ladins, February 1962 release on the Groove label, subsidiary of RCA Records. That's What You Do to Me is the name of the tune. Robert Jeffries, a.k.a. Bobby J, was the bass of that group, former WWRL and WCBS FM disc jockey. Still think he's on the oldie scene. He used to fill in with the Teenagers and a couple other groups there. Bobby J still in the music scene. Johnny G here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime as we continue here, and haven't heard this next song in quite a while. This group from Queens, New York. It was a 45 that my aunt had in her collection, and their signature song was a hit the second time around on when High Weiss picked it up and put it out on his Old Town record label back in 1960. You know the song. It was called There's a Moon Out Tonight. They did 3 more singles followed on the Old Town label. Let's give a listen to their fourth, and it's a cover song. Was first done by a group called The Clicks on the Modern label back in 1956, but let's give a listen to this version by the Capris. It features Nick Santamaria on lead. We go back to August 1961 for the Capris on Old Town and their rendition of the tune Girl in My Dreams.
Ooh, girl in my
so blue. How I yearn, how I long for you. If I could just hold your hand, surely then you would understand that it's you I adore forevermore.
Cover tunes here on Vinyltreasure Show. The overtime version, those are the Capris. Nick Santamaria on lead. August 61 release. High Weiss's Old Town Records out of New York City. Their rendition of the tune Girl of My Dreams. That one charted number 92, only 92 on the Billboard Hot 100. Did better at number 38 on WMGM here in New York City. Also, the flip side's pretty nice too. A song called My Island in the Sun. Well, you know when that's coming in 2 weeks. Now, let's continue here. Really can't tell you much about this next record except that it came out in 1962 and it was pressed by RCA. It appears to be this gal's only release, and it's really an odd sound. I don't know if it's the kettle drums or the weird, I think it's guitar sound, but maybe you know what type of sound it is. You can type it in the chat room if you know what it is. But the record is arranged by Ray Rush. We know who he is, and he had some cool solo releases. But this one, one that comes to mind is a song he does called So What on the Parkway label in 62. But anyway, this song from December 62, her name is Big Martha. Big Martha, it's on the E-Spirit label, and it's called Restless as a River.
As a river, my heart just can't be still. There seems to be inside of me a faith I can't reveal. I'm lonesome as a legend, my world lonely place. The way I feel is so unreal, suspended in empty space. There's so many memories in every tear I've cried. Memories are a part
That's big. That's Big Martha. Big Martha there from December 62. It's on the E-Spirit label. Are there women's shoes called E-Spirit? Anyway, that is Restless as a River. I bought that from Tom Klein at one of the record shows. I bought that when he was selling out his collection. Johnny G's here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. And let's continue here. Now, I have no info on this next group, but they have this, they have to be local to New York City now. They have this lone release on the Lori label, and I was going to play the slower side, but I need an up-tempo record at this point, but this one's okay, I have to say, and it's not as good as the original because this was originally done by the Collegians in 1957 on the Winley label, but this group is called the N-Chords. The N-Chords here from March of 61. It's on Lori, and their rendition of the tune, Zoom, Zoom, Zoom.
Boom, 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 boom. Zoom, 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 zoom. Ziddy, zoom, 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 zoom. Ziddy, zoom, 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 zoom. Ziddy, boom, 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 boom. I love you. Yes, I love you so. Need you, need you by my side. Want you for my pride. That I love you so. When I go to sleep at night, yes I pray that everything is alright. When your love to hold me tightly. Love you, yes I love you so. Want the world to know that I love you so. When I sleep at night, yes I pray that everything is alright. Your love to hold me tightly. Need you by my side. Want you for my pride. That I love you. Boom, 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 boom. Zoom, 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 zoom.
Cover tunes here on the Vinyl Treasure Overtime. The N-Chords there, March 61 release on the Lori label out of New York City. Zoom, Zoom, Zoom is the name of the tune. I love the flip side better. It's a song called I Need You Baby. So you're going to hear that one in 2 weeks. Johnny G's here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. Here's another request for George Tompkins. We head back out to Los Angeles, California for a group called the Neons, not to be confused with the group that recorded for the Tetra label. This group totally different. Now, their first single came out on the Walden label in 1961, a pretty rare 45. Now, in 62, they had this release on Gene Autry's Challenge label. It was written by the lead singer. His name is Ricardo King. Ricardo King on lead. He was 14 years old when he recorded this, and according to Ricardo, the studio that produced this who was in the studio producing this record was Glenn Campbell. He was also on guitar together with the Champs of Tequila fame. They were backing up this group by the name of the Neons. So by request for George Tompkins, we go back to April 62 on Challenge Records. These are the Neons with Magic Moment.
There's a magic moment when you're in my arms. There's a magic love when I There's a magic in your smile, a magic in your touch, a magic in your kiss. Oh my darling, you're too much, too much. Oh darling, you're too much for me.
By request for George Tompkins, those are the Neons. Wow, that record sounds so much better with a new needle. It surely does. That's a styrene press on the Challenge label. Magic Moment is the name of that one on April 62. Now, Ricardo King was on lead. Now, he has a couple of solo releases on the Joker label, Soulful Records on Joker Records in 1965. As some of you that listen to my 60s show, I played the Autographs on the Joker label. I forget the name of it, but a great record. But the Autographs do Soulful Record. Johnny G's here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. I'm going to have to stop it pretty soon, but I got to get a couple more requests in here. And we go back to Brooklyn, New York for this singer-songwriter, record producer whose real name is Richard Joel Rosenblatt, but he recorded as Richie Cordell, and this is his debut single that came out on the Rory label. Writer credit goes to Jerry Landis, aka that's Paul Simon, and this was a big number 4 on WSPR of Springfield, Massachusetts, as we go to April 62 for Richie Cordell on the Rory label and his tune called Tick Tock.
Tick tock, tick, tick tock, tick tock, tick, tick tock, tick tock, tick, tick tock,
Tick tock, tick tock, tick.
I'm waiting for my baby doll. She's 2 hours late. Now it's almost 10 o'clock. She said she'd be here at 8. I'm looking at my watch. I wonder how long I must wait. And I hear tick tock, tick, tick tock, tick tock, tick, tick tock, tick tock, tick, tick tock,
Tick tock, tick tock, tick.
I'm all dressed up and ready to go. Where can she be? I wonder if she stood me up. She can't do that to me. Well, now it's almost 11 o'clock. I guess I'll wait and see. Hearing tick tock, tick, tick tock, tick tock, tick, tick tock, tick tock, tick, tick tock. Well, now it's almost 12 o'clock and I'm here in the studio. Should I stay or go back home? I don't know what to do. One thing that I know for sure, that girl and I are through. Still hearing tick tock, tick, tick tock, tick tock, tick, tick tock, tick tock, tick, tick tock,
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
tick tock.
Yeah, it's a debut single for Richie Cordell, April 1962. Tick Tock is the name of that one. Came out on the Rory record label. Now, in the mid-1960s, he wrote and produced a bunch of hits for Tommy James and the Shondells and others, not to mention his own releases. And unfortunately, that he passed away from pancreatic cancer in 2004. But we remember Richie Cordell here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Let's continue with a few more here. I really have to get to one, maybe two more requests here. And on the last Vinyl Treasure Show, I played a rare white group sound by this 45 by a group out of Germantown, Philadelphia, and it's on Artie Singer's Twist label. They were called the Classic Four, and with the Roman numeral 4, and their second release on the Twist label, which is their hardest 45, I played Heavenly Bliss, which was the intended B-side. Let's give a listen to the intended A-side before I file it back down in the No Humidity basement. It features Here's Andy Petrozelli on lead. This one from 1962, the Classic Four on the Twist label, and their tune called Please Be Mine. That's the second of two for the Classic Four 1962 release on the Twist label out of Philadelphia, PA. Please Be Mine is the name of the tune. They'd have two more releases on the Algonquin label. I have those records. They're pretty nice records, too. Johnny G's here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. Here's yet another flip side from a number of weeks ago by a group called the Epics. On the Mercury label, I played a song called The Bells Are Ringing. It was months and months ago because I had this one, this record to play. It was when I played 78s for Braden. I played the Blue Jays on Checker 78, actually a version of this song. And today I played a rendition of this song by the Robins, requested by Chuck. But this group is called the Epics, and this record produced by James Brown. And it's a cover song that was recorded by so many groups. But let's give a listen to this rendition as we move into May 64. The Epics on Mercury with their rendition of the tune, There'll Be Bluebirds Over the White Cliffs of Dover.
There'll be bluebirds over the green field of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see. There will be
just you wait and see.
That's actually a nice rendition there by the Epics. That one there produced by James Brown. Cool. May 1964, the Epics on the Mercury label. There'll be Bluebirds over the White Cliffs of Dover. As we continue here, a couple more 45s to go. I normally don't play hits here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. I rarely do, if I even do play a hit. But sometimes I do like hits. I do. That doesn't mean they're bad records. They're good records. I hope YouTube doesn't penalize Johnny G, though, for playing this record. But it's a favorite song by a new listener on the video chat. It came into YouTube last week as Styled Buckle, and there is a YouTube video of the gals lip syncing this on Dick Clark's American Bandstand, and this song made it up to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100s. It was a big number 1 on Cashbox, so this was a number 1 record, so I can't get any bigger than this record. And it's the first of 8 for the Ronettes. It features Ronnie Bennett on lead by request for Style Buckle. Thank you for your email, and I hope you're tuned in here. So this goes out to you. She likes this record from July 63, and I liked it too. I have multiple, actually I got nice mint promo copies of this somewhere, but for Styled Buckle, July 63, the Ronettes on Phyllis with the classic. It's called Be My Baby. Hits here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. That's probably the biggest hit I ever played here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. So by request for Styled Buckle, The Ronettes there, Ronnie Bennett on lead, Phil Spector's Wall of Sound, July 1963 on the Phyllis label. Be My Baby is the name of the tune, and written by Phil Spector, Ellie Greenwich, and Jeff Barry. I hope I don't get a copyright strike. Please, YouTube, do not do that if you're reading this when you read it in the filter. It is a request. This is a historical show. This is a teaching show. I could be an adjunct professor at a university teaching music. Yes, I can. And let's continue here. One more request here. Found this next request for the doo-wop couple Ron and Dorothy of Michigan, this group from Brooklyn, New York. You all know their signature song from 1960 on the Tag label. A big hit for them called Once in a While, but they had a number of releases on different labels, and here's one requested by Ron and Dorothy on the VJ label, and on some of their 45s they were known as Lenny and the Chimes, others they were known as just the Chimes. Now Lenny is really Lenny Coco, so by request for Ron and Dorothy we go to June of 64 for Lenny and the Chimes on this one on VJ. It's called Only Forever.
Do I want to be with you as the years come and go?
Only forever. If you care to know, would I grant all your wishes and be proud of the task? Only forever. If someone should ask, how long would it take me to be near if you beckon? Offhand I would figure less than a second. Do you think I'll remember how you look when you smile? Only forever. That's putting it mild. Only forever. And that's putting it mild. How long would it take me to be near if you beckon? Oh, and I would figure about less than a second. Do you think I will remember how you look when you smile? Only forever. That's putting it mild. Only forever. And that's putting it mild. Only forever. And that's putting it
As by request for the doo-wop couple Ron and Dorothy, Lenny Coco and the Chimes there on the VJ record label, June 64 release, Only Forever. Unfortunate that we lost Lenny May 8th of 2015 at the age of 78. And I did see him perform in concert locally here in a number of years ago, again prior to, it must have been, I think, in 2014. But anyway, that's going to do it for Johnny G and the Vinyl Treasure Show. I want to thank you for joining Johnny G, listening to original vinyl 45s out of my collection. You want to get in touch with me, send me an email at vinyltreasures@aol.com. You can go to my website, vinyltreasures.net. You can stream or download the shows there. I know a number of you listeners do that. And not everybody tunes in on Saturday night. A lot of people are out and about or shopping or dating or or dancing or whatever, but you can tune in anytime. You can also go to my YouTube page, Johnny G Vinyltreasure Show, and we'll get this one up on the YouTube wall. I get a lot of stuff on my YouTube account. I really do. So thank you all, and thank you all for sticking around tonight. I really appreciate it there. It means a lot to me. We're going to close the show tonight with a flip side from last week. I featured a group called the Five Fabulous Demons, and their only release on Sid Nathan's King label. I played the intended B-side. It was called Yeah, Since You Went Away. Can't find any information about this group, but we're going to give a listen to the closer tonight, to the intended A-side, and it's a cover song which was written and recorded initially by Burt Russell, and he released it on the Juan label as Russell Bird in 1961. He was the first one to do it, but I think other people covered this. But this is a cover song from July 63 by the Five Fabulous Demons on King, their rendition of the tune You Better Come Home. And it's time for Johnny G to go home, and that's going to do it for Johnny G. Please tune in tomorrow evening for my buddy Dave the Raven, his Relics and Rarities show. No, actually, Dave is not on tomorrow. I'm sorry. Dave is not on tomorrow. He is at an event. He will not be on. So I don't know who's filling in tomorrow, or if it's going to be Otto or not. But Dave will not be on tomorrow. I just remembered that. He'll be on in 2 weeks. But I'll be on next Saturday. It'll be my All 60s show. 1964 and later sounds out of my collection. Sometimes I hit 1970. But it's all mid to later 60s records out of my collection. Kind of a lot of soul records. I like the soul era from that time. But that's going to do it for Johnny G. Thank you all for sticking around. Thank you, Charlene. Last minute, I had work is crazy for me. It's been crazy this week. My mother with the surgery, she's getting better. But I'm going to relax tomorrow. Barbara's coming over. We're going to listen to records. Yes, we are. But anyway, that's going to do it. And I'll see you all next Saturday for my All 60s show, or in 2 weeks for my All 50s and Early 60s show again. So hope you enjoyed the tunes. Thanks for sticking around, and just want to say, everybody, so long. Okay, folks, that does it. Thanks for sticking around. Wow, it's 106. I think I did marathon shows here on the Vinyltreasure Show for sure. I did, but there you go. There, you better come on. I say it's a pretty good record, I have to say. I like that kind of sound. And I don't know anything about this group. I tried the Five Fabulous Demons, which is a pretty cool record. But anyway, thank you all for sticking around. I hope you have a great week. I'll see you hopefully next Saturday. If not, I'll see you in 2 weeks. And again, thank you, Charlene, for all your help. I know sometimes I'm like rushing, but I really couldn't do the show without Charlene. She's such a big help to me. And again, thank you all here. And again, I'd like to go to that record show. Hopefully, I'd like to meet Andrew and Braden. I'd like to see you guys, meet you guys. Like I said, too bad if you're in the area, you ever want to come and do the show. We don't have to do it at the nighttime like this. We can do it actually in the afternoon because we can record it live. I won't be on Top Shelf Oldies, but maybe Tim will let me be on Top Shelf Oldies too, because Clark doesn't come on until 8 o'clock. So I have some collectors that I want to come up here, and they can do the show with me. We could do it like at like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. It could be any time. And then I record it and I can air it at night, or I can get somebody to air the tape at night for the regular show. That's a possibility for sure. So I'd like to do that sometime in the future. If it ever works out, it would be good. I'd like to have a lot of collectors come up, especially the people who are here with the show. But anyway, thank you all for sticking around, and I'll see some of you next week. If not, I'll see you in 2 weeks. So have a safe and happy week, folks. So long, everybody. Bye-bye.